Hey everybody, welcome to the very first breakdown of the Tackle Talk podcast and Dark Horse Tackle Spring Box. So what I did is I put together 6 baits that I like to throw in the springtime, whether it's pre-spawn, post-spawn, during the spawn, whether the water is crystal clear, chocolate milk, anything in between. I took that all into account and I built the box that I would like to go out with and throw baits in the springtime. So all 6 of these baits were picked by me, the companies, the colors, the sizes, everything to what I would throw in the spring. So we're going to go through this box today, and not only are we going to talk about what's in this box, but why it's in this box and how you're going to throw it. So let's dive right in to the Spring Box 2022 edition. All right, let's open her up here. The very first thing that we're going to have in here is right here on top. It's a Squarebill. You guys know where I'm going with this. All right, so let's open it up. Take a look here. All right. So this is from Bobby Wasabi, if I can make you guys see that right there. Bobby Wasabi Custom Lures. And what he did for us, this is our take on a red Squarebill. And so I love red Squarebills. There's something about red in the springtime. I don't know what it is. I know that bass obviously have like, what's it called? Dichromatic, I think is the word for it. But basically means they see on a spectrum of kind of 2 colors. They see green and they see red really, really well. And then kind of everything else, at least my understanding is they kind of blend together, right? They see chartreuse and white as kind of the same shade of whatever color they see. But red and green for some reason stand out. You see green pumpkin a lot. And then in the springtime, you see red. Now, the only thing that I have a problem with sometimes with Squarebills, especially is in the springtime when you get those red Squarebills, they're like fire engine red, right? They're not playing around. It's not a natural red. It's like that color red. And that's not really what I want. I want something that's a little bit more natural. So what we did with this, we did a dark top, fades down to kind of like a burnt red sides there, all the way down to kind of this burnt orange yellow on the bottom. And for the markings, we did gold. Usually you'll see black markings, but we have that black top, so I wanted a little gold accent on that. And then you've got these ruby red eyes too. So a really cool Squarebill right here. Killer around rocks, killer around any sort of, especially rock that's around a spawning flat, basically, like somewhere where you know these fish are going to be this time of year, absolutely kills it. So bang this thing off those shallow rocks. You know, it's rivers, it's creeks, it's ponds, it's whatever, right? If you've got rocks that are shallow and are near somewhere that you think fish could be bedding, this is a killer. This is great for pre-spawn. This is great for post-spawn. I don't really use this too much during the spawn, obviously, when you're like bed fishing and stuff, but pre and post-spawn, this is a killer bait. So the red Squarebill going to play a huge role in my spring fishing, and that is from Bobby Wasabi Custom Lures, retails for $8. All right, the very next thing I see in here is a Muffin Tops Jig. It's hand-wired, hand-tied. This color is Peanut Butter Haze. So this was a custom color that they did for us. Basically, I wanted a finesse jig that I could use for pre-spawn and that I could also use for bed fishing too. So I know a lot of people kind of stray to Texas rigs and stuff on bed fishing. I like jigs for bed fishing if they're the right kind of heads. You can see right here, I'll get this out for you. It is a peanut butter and jelly kind of color, but it's my take on peanut butter and jelly because what you're going to see in there, you're going to see a little black. You can see that black accent in there. There's just something about me where I like black accents in almost every jig that I make. So when I make them myself, I make like green pumpkin. I make, obviously black and blue, but natural craw, peanut butter and jelly. I always put black in there. There's just something about that black that gives me the confidence that it has this contrast that these fish can see, if it's in murky water, even if it's in clear water. I just like that contrast. So I also like that ball head jig. You guys can see that right there. He did a really cool kind of crackle pattern on that. I don't know how well you guys can see that, but really unique line tie on there too. But this thing's so universal, right? You can use this on rock. You can use this on, flats. You can use this on even mud and clay bottom. You can flip this into cover. Really just a versatile spring bait. Again, it will play during the pre-spawn, it'll play during the post-spawn, but I actually like to throw these on beds too, just that flared skirt. And the reason we're going with the peanut butter and jelly here is because that imitates bait fish really well that are going to be up there that are going to be disturbing beds. So that's your bream, that's your bluegill, that's all of those kind of sunfish that those fish are just hardwired to keep off their beds. That's what you're playing off of with this. So a really cool jig from Muffin Tops Jigs, and that's going to retail for $4.99. It's the Finesse jig in Peanut Butter Haze. All right, the next thing that we have here, you can't have a flippin' jig, or you can't have a jig in general without trailers. And so these are going to be dual purpose, right? These are going to be used for trailers. They're also going to be used by themselves. But this is the Flippinstick Bait Company Fat Albert Craw in the color Nightmare. And so this was a color that he did for us. I wanted kind of a take on like a Falcon Craw color because, again, what you're going to see in this box, you're going to see a lot of hints of red. I like red in the springtime. Obviously, we talked about that, but I also want it to look natural. So you can see on this bait, kind of half of it is sort of a green pumpkin flake. Half of it's got that deep red that I really like too. So with this, you can Texas rig this. This is like the most universal bait of all time is a soft plastic craw. So again, you can throw it on a Texas rig, throw it on a Nico rig. You can put this on the back of that jig that we just had too. So you've got this kind of nice color match here. You can bite off. I'd probably bite off right about there and then thread it on as a jig trailer. But again, this is going to give you that big bulk. That's the reason that I picked this specific craw, because I wanted a bulky craw. Because this time of year, either if you're throwing this in pre-spawn, those fish are feeding up, they're gorging, they're looking for big meals, they're trying to kind of feed up in anticipation of this stressful spawn that they're about to go through. Or if you're going to be actually in the spawn, you want something that's threatening enough, obviously, that they want to take off their bed. So you can Texas rig this and you can bed fish it if you want, but I really kind of intended this to be used on the back of that jig, whether you're bed fishing or whether you're throwing it pre-spawn or post-spawn. So these look like these come in a 6-pack and they retail for $5 from Flippinstick Bait Company. All right, hard to believe we're only halfway through this box. The very next thing that we have here is a Beastie Baits Doom Shad. And so you can see it's pretty nasty color scheme that we're going to get to here in a second for the reason that I chose that. But let's take this out of the package here. All right, so there you go, Beastie Baits. Now, this is a lipless crank, and the reason that I put a lipless crank in here is because obviously it's that time of year where these fish are, especially pre-spawn, you've got these fish coming out of their winter patterns, and they're starting to kind of be active, but they're really not there yet. They're not chasing, you know, these big square bills or anything just yet with those wide wobbles. This has a really tight wobble because it's so flat, and that obviously kind of plays on what we've talked about before with like blade baits. So a lot of times I think of lipless as kind of like a pre-spawn blade bait, right? It's a little bigger, a little bit of a more erratic action, but still not to the point where you're waving like you are on a square bill or a traditional crankbait. It still has that tight wobble that will get fish that are in colder water to hit. And so the other reason that I picked this bait and what we did with this is, again, this color scheme is a little crazy for a reason. A lot of times when I think of especially pre-spawn, when I'm going to be throwing this around here, our water is absolutely disgusting most of the time, right? So, you know, in the pre-spawn, our water is notorious from going from, you know, maybe looking like bathtub water to boom, now it's flooded and it looks like Willy Wonka's chocolate factory in like a matter of hours. And so what I wanted a dark color that will stand out, but still has a little bit of a natural shad pattern that if you're throwing this in clear water, you'll be fine too. Again, red trebles, you got that red accent for the spring, but I really like this. You can throw this in super dirty water. It's got that dark contrast. You'll be okay, but still has a little bit of a natural kind of shad color to it as you're coming out of the wintertime. So this is a lipless crankbait. And also, if you have weeds around you, this is a killer all year long. So you can rip this out of weeds any time of year, especially in the spring. But I mean, anytime, you can't go wrong with this. You know, you can, honest to goodness with a lipless, right? You can burn it. You can, you know, kind of yo-yo it. You can rip it. You can slow roll it. The kind of possibilities are endless with a lipless. But again, this was meant to be kind of like your pre-spawn killer in this box. So Beastie Bait Company, this retails for $15. All right. The next thing we have here is my absolute favorite bed fishing bait of all time. It's a lizard. So these are from Jawtech Bait Company. They're their Salty Dog. These are going to be in sour grape. Let's open these up. So right off the bat, I can smell it. These have absolutely crazy garlic scent, which is good. Obviously, you want this to be something that fish will pick up, that will hold on to if you're bed fishing. So you can see right here, you've got just kind of your classic lizard pattern. I went with like a kind of dark, natural, flaky color here again, because I'm not one of these people that throws like the crazy rainbow colored stuff really during the spawn. You know, I know some people like to throw, you know, crazy pinks and stuff like that so they can see them better. It doesn't really bother me too much. If I'm going to be bed fishing, the water's going to be clear enough that I'll be able to see this anyway. But you got crazy appendages. There's just something about a lizard on a bass's bed where it just drives them nuts. I don't know what it is. This is one of the tried and true bed fishing baits for a reason. When this goes on a bass's bed, their instincts go to just say, hey, that obviously doesn't belong near my fry, near my eggs. I need to get that out of there. Texas rig this, do whatever you want with it. These are great bed fishing baits. You can also throw this pre-spawn, post-spawn, but this is supposed to be more of your bed fishing bait. And once you come out of the kind of post-spawn time frame and you're starting to get into summer, this is one of the best Carolina rig baits of all time too. So Carolina rig this, throw it deep in the summertime, you'll be catching fish too. But this is your bed fishing bait, the Jawtech Salty Dog. There's 8 in a pack, and it looks like these retail for $5.49. All right, and last but not least, I'm super excited about this. We have our wild card. This is the Robusto Lures wake bait. So we have a wake bait in here, and this is kind of one of those baits that I don't think gets as much love as it should with wake baits. So you can see right here, this is basically like a big square bill, except you can see that bill, instead of being out like this way, it's down more. And what that does is that keeps this bait right under the surface. So as this is going, it's just kind of under the surface. The water surface might be like right here. It's just enough to wake, just enough to disturb that top layer of water, but it's also not digging down. It's not going in rock. It's not, I guess, probably taking as much effort as a topwater strike takes. Now, you know, when you're coming out of post spawn, obviously we all love it because you're getting into topwater time. This is a nice in-between bait. So you can throw this, you can kind of slow roll it under the surface, and it doesn't take quite as much effort as it does to go hit an actual topwater. They can kind of come up and slurp this, but you can also run this over beds, right? You don't actually have to go down and disturb the bed, but you can run this over it, and those fish will sometimes come up and hit it too. But this is meant to be more of like a post-spawn bait for you. Once you get out of those fish being on beds, this is an absolute killer. So the other cool part about this is the paint job that I got. It's kind of like a natural sexy shad. What he did with these, if I'm not mistaken, is he kind of one painted all of these. So if you're looking at your box, yours might look a little different than mine. I know he did some natural craws, he did some bluegills, he did some perches, he did all kinds of stuff with these, but this is what mine looks like. Again, it's got that fat back, so it will kind of have that really big wobble and kind of that presence that you want from something that will get fish to come up 2, 3, 4 feet and actually hit this. But it's got this kind of, you know, I would call that probably holographic inside of it too. So you can, I don't know, you guys can't see that very well, but it's like a strip that's in there and it's holographic. So it'll get that sunshine and it'll kind of reflect that off of there. It's got one knocker in there too. So it does have some rattles, and this will be an absolute killer once you come out of spawn time. All right, ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. $48.48 worth of baits, almost $50 in a $35 box, meticulously built for springtime. So in this box, you're going to get a Squarebill. You're going to get a Lipless crankbait. You're going to get a wake bait. You're going to get a jig. You're going to get a craw, and you're going to get lizards. All of that, $35, the Dark Horse Tackle and Tackle Talk Podcast 2022 Spring Box. Good luck out there.